A young nurse leaving the night shift hears a baby and its mother crying in a dark street. And in that moment, the fate of 3 lives changes. An unexpected decision ultimately turns the meaning of this story completely upside down. The sun was setting. The sky was covered in orange. After a 16-hour shift without a break, she felt the weight of exhaustion in her body. Her shoulders and feet ached from the intense work, and she could barely keep her eyes open. Anna took a long breath as she adjusted the bag on her shoulder. The empty hospital corridor seemed even quieter at that moment. The young woman stepped out the main door and felt the cool air on her face. The cold of the street made her shiver a little, but it also brought her back to life. After being cooped up in the hospital for hours, it was a pleasant feeling. The fresh air did her good. As Anna walked towards the bus stop, she could think of only one thing: going home, taking a hot bath, and sleeping. If you work in a demanding job, you can empathize, and you can write about your profession and its difficulties in the comments. It had been a tough day. Many patients, emergencies, and requests for help. She loved her job, but there were days when the workload was overwhelming. Today was one of those days. The bus arrived. She got on and sat by the window in the back seats. She looked outside as the city lights began to come on. Her eyes slowly began to close, and the movement of the bus almost lulled her to sleep. Just a little longer, she thought, counting down the minutes until her stop. When she finally arrived, Anna slowly got off the bus. The streets were emptier, and the silence was broken only by the sound of distant cars. She walked quickly to get home fast, but in the midst of that silence, something caught her attention, a sound coming from a nearby street, almost too low to hear. Anna paused for a second, frowning. "What's that?" she muttered to herself. For a moment she considered ignoring it. She was too tired to worry about anything, but suddenly she heard the sound again. This time she listened more carefully. It was crying. The sound seemed to come from a baby, and it wasn't alone. The first sound was accompanied by softer crying. It was a woman crying. Anna's heart immediately tightened, and a strange feeling came over her. Part of her wanted to continue on her way home and get under the covers, but another part, the part that always worried about others, wouldn't let her. She took a deep breath, hugged her bag close to her body, and walked quickly to the nearest street corner. Part of her wanted to continue on her way home and get under the covers, but another part, the part that always cared about others, wouldn't let her. She took a deep breath, hugged her bag close to her body, and began to walk slowly toward the sound. Each step brought her closer to the dark alley, making the crying sound clearer. As she got a little closer, she saw a silhouette at the end. It was a woman sitting on the ground, leaning against the wall, almost curled up. She was holding something in her arms as if protecting it with all her strength. The baby's crying became clearer. Anna approached slowly, her heart tightening, but with a voice that was firm and sweet at the same time. "Hello? Are you okay?" she asked, stopping a few steps away. The woman slowly raised her face. Her eyes were red and tired, and tears were falling down her face, marked by time and a hard life. She didn't answer. She just looked at Anna with despair. Anna leaned forward a little to see better. Then she noticed it in the woman's arms. There was a baby. He was poorly dressed. His skin was red, and he was crying softly, as if even his strength had been exhausted. "My God," Anna murmured with a trembling voice. She knelt in front of the woman, ignoring the damp cold rising up her legs. "What happened? Is he okay?" The woman took a deep breath, as if searching for the strength to speak. Her voice came out weak, almost a whisper. "He won't stop crying. He has a high fever. I don't know what to do." Anna felt a chill run down her spine. She looked at the baby closely and gently placed her hand on his forehead. He was too hot. He had a high fever and was breathing with difficulty. "He has a high fever," Anna said, trying not to show panic. "We need to act fast when he's like this." The woman looked down, ashamed. "Early in the morning," she murmured, her voice broken by crying. Anna understood that the woman was exhausted, without strength, not knowing what to do. She hugged the baby as if she wanted to protect him, but clearly she couldn't. "What's his name?" Anna asked, her voice as calm as she could make it. "Pedro. His name is Pedro," replied the woman, almost without a voice. Anna looked around. The cold was intense, and the place was dark and scary. She knew there was no time to lose. The baby needed immediate help, or something much worse could happen. Listen, I'm a nurse. We need to take him to the hospital right now. That fever is dangerous, and he's having trouble breathing. The woman looked at Anna with frightened eyes, hugging the baby tighter. I have nowhere to go, she said, breaking down in tears. Anna understood instantly. That woman was afraid of being judged, of losing the baby, of being ignored again by the world. Anna's heart tightened, but her voice remained firm and caring. Don't worry about that now, okay? We'll sort everything out later. The most important thing is Pedro. He needs to be taken care of. Trust me. The woman was silent for a few seconds, just looking at Anna, as if deciding whether or not to trust her. The baby cried louder, and that was enough for her to agree. Although she said nothing, she loosened her embrace and allowed Anna to approach. I'll help you. I promise, Anna said firmly. Very carefully, Anna took off her coat and wrapped it around the baby, trying to protect him from the cold. Then she held out her arms. I'll take him. Come with me. The woman allowed Anna to take the baby in her arms. He was so hot he seemed to be burning. Anna's heart tightened even more, and the exhaustion of the long day at work disappeared. The only thing that mattered now was getting Pedro to the hospital as soon as possible. She took her phone out of her bag and called a taxi. Although she knew that this expense would complicate her finances for the month, while they waited, Anna looked at the baby in her arms. His little face was red, and his crying was getting weaker. Hang in there, little one. You're going to be fine, Anna whispered, as if talking to her own heart. When the taxi arrived, she turned to the woman and held out her hand. Come on, let's save your son. The woman, with tears streaming down her face, nodded weakly and followed Anna to the car. The taxi sped away, leaving behind the silence of the alley. Anna looked at little Pedro in her arms and knew that every second counted. The hospital wasn't far, but the journey felt endless. Hang in there, little one. We're almost there, she murmured like a plea. The woman remained silent beside her, just looking her son with eyes full of tears. But for the first time, there was a glimmer of hope in them. I tried everything, but he just cries. If the fever, her voice broke, lost in sobs. Anna gently placed her hand on little Pedro's forehead again. The heat was too intense. This was no normal fever. It was dangerous. Every second lost could make the situation worse, and Anna's heart beat faster because of the urgency of the moment. He's very hot. His little face is too red, Anna murmured, almost to herself. Then she looked at the woman and asked gently, Did he eat anything today? Did he drink any water? The woman shook her head slowly, still crying. No, there was nothing. I tried, but he just slept and cried. Anna took a deep breath, feeling a lump form in her throat. She needed to stay calm for both of them. I just don't want them to take him away from me, she murmured. The woman whispered, as if confessing her greatest fear. Anna looked at her tenderly and replied in a firm but gentle tone, No one is going to take Pedro away from you. It's okay. I'm here to help. Nothing else. Trust me. Please. Tears fell from the woman's eyes again. Hang in there, little one. We're almost there, she whispered to Pedro, as she looked at his red and sweaty little face. Finally, the hospital appeared on the horizon. Anna felt a little relief, but worry still dominated every part of her. As soon as the taxi stopped in front of the entrance, Anna quickly opened the door, got out with the baby in her arms, and ran towards the emergency room door. The receptionist recognized Anna instantly. She had left there not long ago and immediately noticed that it was something urgent. High fever, difficulty breathing. He needs attention now, Anna said in a firm but trembling voice. The medical team nearby wasted no time. As soon as they saw little Pedro in Anna's arms, they acted quickly. One of the nurses approached and carefully took the baby from her arms. We'll take care of him now, said the nurse in a confident tone. Anna stood there in the middle of the reception area, as if the world around her had fallen silent. She let out a long sigh, as if trying to catch her breath after all the rushing around. Her eyes followed the team as they carried Pedro to the treatment room, and she felt her heart tighten even more. Please take care of him, she murmured softly, as if talking to the air. Anna turned toward the hospital door and saw the silhouette of Pedro's mother standing at the entrance, watching everything from afar, unsure whether or not she could approach. She was weak and uncertain, but her gaze remained fixed on her son. Anna walked towards her slowly, without rushing, and stopped beside her. "They're already taking care of him," Anna said calmly. "Come in with me." The woman hesitated for a moment, looking at Anna and then at the hospital. Her face showed the fear of someone who had never been there before, but at the same time, her love for her son was greater than anything else. "Are they really going to help him?" she asked in a trembling voice. Anna put a hand on her shoulder and smiled warmly. "Yes, of course, and I'm here with you," Anna said with a small sigh. The woman finally entered with Anna. It was as if, at that moment, she had accepted that she no longer had to carry the burden alone. Anna felt the weight of that moment, but also a great desire to continue fighting for both of them. The woman began to cry, covering her face with her hands. The tears she had held back since the beginning finally came pouring out. "I didn't want this to happen," she sobbed, her voice breaking. Anna pulled up a chair and helped her sit down, then knelt beside her, keeping her voice calm. "You did what you could, and now we're here. You brought Pedro here and he's going to be okay. Believe that, yes." The woman looked at Anna with eyes full of pain, but deep down, there was a small spark of hope. "Do you really think he's going to be okay?" she asked, almost without a voice. Anna took her hand and squeezed it affectionately. "Yes, I do. He's being cared for by the best doctors now. We did what we had to do." The woman took a deep breath, trying to calm herself, even though the tears kept falling. Anna stayed by her side because she knew that no one should go through a moment like this alone. For a few minutes, silence filled the broken hallway, broken only by the distant sound of the doctors' voices and the hurried footsteps of the nurses. Anna closed her eyes for a moment, saying a silent prayer that Pedro was okay. Behind the door, Pedro was being treated with all possible urgency. Anna knew how medical teams worked in situations like this. She knew they were doing everything they could, yet the worry inside her was immense. "Now we have to trust," Anna murmured to herself, squeezing the hand of Pedro's mother, who was still sitting there staring at the door, as if expecting her son to come out at any moment, smiling, healed, and in her arms. "He'll be fine," Anna repeated, almost like a promise, as time seemed to pass slowly in the cold hospital hallway. The woman slowly raised her eyes, looking at Anna as if she were far away, lost in her own thoughts. What if it's too late?" she asked, her voice broken and weak. Anna took her hand affectionately, squeezing it gently so she would feel that she was not alone. "Don't think like that. He is strong, and the doctors will do everything they can. The important thing is that we got here in time." The woman took a deep breath, but the tears kept falling. "I just wish he didn't have to go through this," she murmured, her eyes filled with guilt again. "This is all my fault." Anna shook her head slowly, looking firmly into her eyes. "Don't say that. You brought him here. You did everything you could. That shows you're a mother who cares." The woman remained silent, looking at Anna's hand on hers, as if that small gesture of affection was the only thing keeping her standing at that moment. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The sound of the nurse's hurried footsteps echoed in the distance, but in that small hallway, it was just the two of them and the weight of that moment. Anna closed her eyes for a second, trying not to think about the worst. All she wanted was to hear someone open that door and say that Pedro was out of danger. She looked again at the baby's mother and realized how tired she looked, worn out by a life of struggle that at that moment seemed too heavy to bear. "You need to rest a little," Anna said gently. "Stay here. Sit down. Take a deep breath. I'll bring you a glass of water." The woman looked at Anna and nodded slowly. "Thank you for everything," she murmured with difficulty. "You don't have to thank me," Anna replied, with a small but sincere smile. "We're in this together." Anna got up and went to the water fountain in the corner of the hallway. She took a plastic cup, filled it with water, and returned quickly. When she handed her the cup, the woman held it with both hands as if that small gesture meant more than any words. "Take a little sip. It will help you calm down," she said, sitting down next to her while they waited. Anna looked back at the closed emergency door, felt a lump in her throat, and clenched her own hands to stay strong. No matter how hard she tried not to show it, fear was also inside her. She worried about Pedro as if he were part of her, as if in that short time she had already grown more attached to him than she should have. She closed her eyes and silently asked God to give little Pedro strength, little Pedro, to help the doctors, and that somehow it would all have a happy ending. Pedro's mother, sitting next to her, continued to stare at the door, still holding the glass of water with trembling hands. "How long will it take them to say something?" she asked, almost in a whisper. Anna took a deep breath and replied in a calm voice, "They're doing everything they can. They'll bring news soon." And in that cold hospital corridor, as time passed slowly, Anna made another silent promise. She would not leave that mother and that baby alone. "Not now. Not after all this. Forgive me. I was so worried about Pedro that I didn't even ask your name." The woman sniffed, running her hands over her face to dry her tears, without success, because more were already coming. After a while, in a low voice, almost a whisper, she replied, "Maria. My name is Maria." Anna smiled softly when she heard her. "Maria is a beautiful name," she said affectionately. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Maria." Maria looked at Anna in surprise. She wasn't used to being treated kindly, much less hearing something nice about herself. "I'm sorry," Maria murmured, lowering her face in embarrassment. "I don't know why I'm crying so much." Anna gently squeezed her shoulder and replied calmly, "You don't have to apologize, Maria. You've been through a lot. It's normal to cry. Let it all out. It's good for you, Maria." She began to cry again, but this time it was different. It was as if, at that moment, someone had allowed her to feel everything she had kept inside for so long. Anna sat down next to her and remained silent, simply being there. Sometimes, someone's presence is all a person needs to not feel alone. After a few minutes, Maria took a deep breath and, between sobs, began to speak as if the words just came out. "I didn't want it to be like this. I tried so hard, but life is so difficult, so cruel." Anna turned her face and looked at her intently, as if those words were the most important thing in the world. "I imagine how much you've suffered," Anna said softly. "But Maria, you did everything in your power. You love Pedro. If you didn't love him, he wouldn't be here now being cared for." Maria slowly raised her eyes, looking at Anna as if she had never heard that before. "Do you really believe that?" Maria asked in a low, broken voice. I just wanted him to have a better life than mine." "I know," Anna replied, smiling a little. "And that's exactly why you're a good mother. To love is to do everything we can, even if it seems like it's not enough. And you did." Maria was silent, thinking about Anna's words. It was as if, for the first time, someone saw what was in her heart without judging her. She took a deep breath deeply, trying to hold back the tears, but they continued to fall slowly. Anna took a tissue out of her purse and handed it to her. "Here, wipe your face. I'm here with you, okay? I'm not going anywhere." Maria took the tissue with trembling hands and smiled shyly, still feeling sad. "Thank you," she murmured, drying her tears. Anna looked back at the closed emergency door, feeling the weight of waiting. Time seemed to pass too slowly, yet she did not leave Maria's side. They stayed there together in silence, waiting for news of little Pedro. As difficult as that moment was, Anna knew that her presence there meant a lot to Maria. And deep down, she also knew that life had brought these two women together for a reason. Maria, still with red eyes and a face worn out from exhaustion, took a deep breath as if gathering the courage to speak. She looked at her own hands clenched in her lap and began in a low, faltering voice. "When I got pregnant, I didn't know what to do." Anna looked at her intently without saying anything. Just by listening, she knew that Maria needed to talk, to get everything out that seemed to have been bottled up for so long. "My family kicked me out of the house when they found out." Maria paused as if the words hurt as they came out. "They said I had dishonored the family, that I didn't deserve stay there." She wiped a rebellious tear running down her face and continued. "I tried to ask some people for help, but no one wanted to listen to me. I was left alone, so alone that it seemed as if the world had forgotten me. Anna felt a lump form in her throat, but she kept her expression calm, trying to convey strength to Maria. "And you came to the streets?" Anna asked softly. Maria nodded, her eyes still fixed on the floor. "I had no choice. I started sleeping wherever I could, on sidewalks, under store awnings. Some days I ate, others I didn't. The worst part was the cold. There are nights when you think you won't wake up the next day." Her voice broke, and another tear rolled down her cheek. Anna gently touched her arm in a silent gesture of support. Maria took a deep breath and continued. "Pedro arrived early. I didn't even know he was going to be born that day. She was alone under a bridge." Maria closed her eyes as if trying to erase that memory. "I cried so much, but when he was born, and I finally saw him," she lifted her face and looked at Anna with eyes full of tears, but also with a love that seemed to fill everything. "When I saw his little face, I swore I would do everything I could, even if I had nothing, even if I was nobody. I promised I would take care of him." Anna felt tears begin to form in her own eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She just gently squeezed Maria's hand and smiled affectionately. "You did everything in your power, Maria, and that shows how strong you are." Maria shook her head slowly, but there was still sadness in her eyes. "I tried, but it's not enough. I can't give him food or a warm place to sleep, and now he's in there fighting because of me." The last sentence came out between sobs, and Anna couldn't take it anymore. She hugged her. "Don't say that. You did more than most people would do. You brought Pedro here. You asked for help. That saved his life. Maria, it's not your fault. The fault lies with this hard life that has been unfair to you." Maria cried on Anna's shoulder, letting out all the pain and weight she was carrying. After a while, she pulled away a little, wiped her face with her hands, and took a deep breath. "Sometimes I think that Pedro would have a better life without me," she whispered, almost without a voice. Anna took her shoulders in both hands and looked her in the eyes, firm and loving. "Don't ever say that again. Pedro needs you. He needs your love, your care. It's not about having money or a nice house. What matters is that you're with him, and I promise you're not alone. We'll find a solution, okay?" Maria looked at Anna as if those words were the only thing that mattered. After a few seconds, she took a deep breath and nodded. "Thank you," she murmured in a softer voice. Anna smiled and took one of her hands, squeezing it gently. "Everything will be okay. I'm here, and we're going to find a solution." After a few seconds, she took a deep breath and nodded. "Thank you," she whispered in a softer voice. Anna smiled and took one of her hands, squeezing it gently. "Everything will be fine. I'm here, and we'll find a solution. The important thing now is for Pedro to get through this." Maria looked toward the emergency door with a gaze full of love and concern. Despite her exhaustion, she seemed lighter for having told her story, and for no longer being alone. Anna remained there by her side, holding her hand like a silent promise that she would no longer have to bear that pain alone. "Why are you doing this?" she finally asked in a tone full of sincerity. "Why are you helping me?" Anna smiled slightly, feeling her heart beat strongly. "Because we all deserve a chance, and you and Pedro deserve it more than anyone. Sometimes we just need someone who cares, someone who reaches out." There, in that silent, Maria no longer felt like she was fighting alone. For the first time in a long time, she believed that maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for her and her son. Time seemed to stand still. The silence in the waiting room was only interrupted by the hurried footsteps of nurses in the distance. Anna, sitting next to Maria, did not let go of her hand for a moment. They waited together, sharing the same concern, until at one point, exhaustion overcame Anna. Her eyes began to close slowly, and without realizing it, she fell asleep right there, sitting in the hard chair with her head tilted to one side. Maria remained silent, staring at the emergency room door. Her face was still tired, her eyes swollen from crying, but now there was a void, as if the weight of the world were on her shoulders. An hour later, the soft sound of the door opening broke the silence of the place. A pediatrician appeared with a calm expression and a chart in his hands. He looked around and walked toward them. Anna woke up with a slight start. opening her eyes quickly. She raised her head and looked around until she saw the doctor standing in front of her. "Doctor," Anna replied, still half asleep, but with her heart beating fast. The pediatrician smiled slightly with a calm and confident tone. "Pedro is out of danger. His fever has gone down and he is now breathing better. We are keeping him under observation to make sure he recovers well." The doctor's words were like a light in the darkness. Anna let out the breath she didn't know she was holding and felt her chest finally relax. "Thank God," Anna murmured, bringing a hand to her heart. She turned to Maria, who was still sitting next to her. Maria did not react the same way. Instead of being happy, she lowered her head slowly, her eyes fixed on the floor. Her body seemed even more fragile, as if the news, although good, brought with it a greater weight. "Did you hear?" Anna said softly to Maria. "Pedro is out of danger. He's going to be fine." Maria didn't respond. She just let the tears fall silently again. She brought her hands to her face and sighed deeply, as if to release the tension. "I don't know what to be now," Maria murmured, her voice broken with shame and exhaustion. "He's safe, but I'm not enough for him." Anna looked at her with a heavy heart. She knew that Maria was carrying a burden that could not be healed in an instant. Calmly, Anna stood up and put a hand on her shoulder, speaking as gently as she could. "Maria, he's alive because you didn't give up. That's enough for now. Now you need to rest." Maria finally lifted her face, looking at her with red eyes. "But what about him? What if he wakes up and I'm not there? He's in good hands. The doctors will take care of him while you recover your strength," Anna replied lovingly. "We also have to take care of you." Anna turned to the doctor and without hesitation asked firmly, "Doctor, can Pedro have a private room? If he wakes up and I'm not there, he's in good hands. The doctors will take care of him while you recover your strength," Anna replied affectionately. "We also have to take care of you." Anna turned to the doctor and asked, "Doctor, can he remain under observation? I want him to be well cared for." "Of course," replied the pediatrician with an understanding smile. "He'll be here with us until he's fully recovered." Anna smiled gratefully and looked back at Maria. She knew that Maria needed someone at that moment, a safe place, and took out her cell phone. Anna made a quick call. "Hi Carla, it's me. I need a big favor. I have a friend here who needs to rest. Can you help us?" On the other end of the line, Anna's friend didn't hesitate to respond positively. Anna hung up the phone and looked back at Maria. "I have a wonderful friend who is going to take care of you now. Carla will take you to a safe place where you can rest, eat something, and regain your strength, while I'll stay with Pedro, okay?" Maria looked at Anna in surprise. "Why? Why are you doing this for me?" Anna knelt down in front of her, holding her hands firmly and looking into her eyes with all the sincerity she had. "Because no one deserves to go through all this alone. It's been too hard for too long now. Let someone help you too." Maria shed a few more tears, but this time they weren't just tears of sadness. She took a deep breath and nodded, although she didn't say anything. "Come on, Maria. One step at a time," Anna said, smiling tenderly. Gently, Anna helped Maria up and took her to the reception area where her friend was already waiting. As Maria left, Anna looked at her and made sure to say, "I'll come back for you later and bring you news about Pedro. Trust me." "Yes." Maria looked at Anna one last time and, her voice almost gone, whispered, "Thank you." Anna watched as Maria walked away accompanied, and only then did she sit back down in the waiting room, looking toward the emergency room door. The relief of knowing that Pedro was out of danger was great, but her heart was still full of promises. She knew that the battle was not over yet, and no matter how difficult it was, she would not leave Maria and Pedro alone. Not now. Not ever. In the days that followed, Anna went to see Pedro whenever she could. Even after her long shifts, she would stop by the pediatric ward before going home. Little Pedro was improving little by little. The fever had disappeared, and he was now under the care of doctors and nurses in a white crib padded with soft, clean blankets. Every time Anna entered the room, her heart felt lighter when she saw Pedro there, so small but fighting hard to recover. She smiled, approached slowly, and touched his little hand, which seemed even more fragile next to her fingers. "Hello, champ," Ana whispered softly. "You're getting stronger, aren't you? You'll be out of here soon." Pedro moved his little arms, and although he was still weak, those small movements filled Ana with hope. She adjusted his blankets and stayed there for a few minutes, watching his calm breathing, as if she could keep that moment in her heart. Maria also went every day. She arrived early and sat in the chair next to the crib and stayed there quietly, looking at her son. Sometimes she would gently run her hand through Pedro's hair with silent affection, as if she wanted to tell him everything without using words. Her gaze was full of love, but also concern. She felt relieved to see him getting better, but she couldn't hide her fear of the future. When Ana entered the room, she always found Maria sitting there in silence, her eyes fixed on the baby. She would approach calmly, not wanting to interrupt. "How is he today?" Ana would always ask with a smile, trying to lighten the heavy atmosphere. Maria would look at her a little surprised, as if returning to reality, and respond in a low voice, "Better. The doctors say he's responding well." Ana would smile and sit down next to her, looking at Pedro with Maria. "He's strong, Maria. Very soon you'll be out of here together." Maria would take a deep breath without saying anything, just looking at her son, with her eyes full of tenderness. Sometimes she would turn to Ana and ask, almost in a whisper, "Do you think I can? Do you think I can take care of him outside?" Ana would take her hand, as she did every time Maria began to doubt. "I know you can. One day at a time, Maria. The most important thing is that you're here. That already shows how strong you are." Maria looked at Ana, and even though she didn't respond, the sparkle in her eyes showed that those words calmed her. It was as if Ana were the only person in the world who believed in her. As the days passed, Maria began to open up a little more. Still with a low, shy voice, she told little stories about Pedro, like how he kicked a lot when he was still in her womb, and how she talked to him on cold nights so he would know he wasn't alone. "He's the only good thing I have," Maria confessed on one of those days. "I look at him and wonder how I could have brought someone so beautiful into the world." Into the world. Ana smiled, moved by those words. "Pedro is lucky to have a mother like you," Ana said sincerely. "Never doubt that." Maria just looked down, still shy, but her hands kept gently caressing her son's face, as if that contact gave her strength. The days passed and Pedro continued to improve. Each visit from Ana and Maria was like a little ritual of hope. Ana never stopped encouraging Maria, and Maria slowly began to believe that perhaps she did have a chance to be the mother Pedro needed. "He'll be fine soon. You'll see," Ana said with certainty in every word, and Maria, although very quietly, began to respond, "I hope so." In that simple hospital room, with the silence interrupted only by Pedro's breathing, a new beginning was dawning. Two women together were learning anew what it meant to have hope. After another exhausting shift, Ana went to the hospital's social services area where she found Ms. Vera, an experienced social worker who was highly respected by everyone. "Ana, what a surprise to see you here. What do you need?" asked Ms. Vera, looking up from the papers on her desk. Ana sat down in the chair opposite her and took a deep breath before speaking. "Ms. Vera, I need to talk to you about a mother who is here with her son. It's about Maria and little Pedro." The social worker adjusted her glasses and leaned forward, paying close attention. "I'm following his case. The baby arrived here in critical condition, right?" "Yes, but he's much better now," Ana replied quickly. "Maria is here every day. She never leaves his side. She loves her son, Ms. Vera, but she has nothing. She's alone. Paying attention. I'm following your case. The baby arrived here in critical condition, right?" "Yes, but he's much better now," Ana replied quickly. "Maria is here every day. She never leaves his side. She loves her son, Ms. Vera, but she has nothing. She's alone, with no family and no home. I want to see how we can help them." Ms. Vera sighed and took off her glasses, leaving them on the table. "Ana, I understand what you're saying, but we have to think about the child's well-being. Maria doesn't have the conditions to raise the baby. We can't let Pedro go back to the streets. It's too dangerous." The words hit Ana like a punch in the chest. She had expected that answer, but hearing it still hurt. "But you're going to take Pedro away from her. Is that what you're going to do? Anna asked, her eyes filled with emotion. Ms. Vera looked at her carefully, speaking in a firm but not harsh tone. We haven't decided anything yet, Anna. The case is under review. If we don't find a safe environment for the baby with his mother, he could be taken to a shelter. It's protocol. Anna's heart tightened at the image of Maria holding Pedro in her arms, filled with love and fear at the same time. She knew that separating them would be like destroying what little hope Maria had left. Ms. Vera, I know you follow the rules, but Maria needs help, not punishment, Anna said with determination in her voice. She didn't ask to go through this. She was abandoned by her family. She lost everything, but she never stopped fighting for her son. She brought Pedro here because she knew he needed help. That alone shows how much she loves him. The social worker remained silent, watching Anna closely. What are you, Anna? Ms. Vera asked calmly. That we truly help Maria, Anna replied without hesitation. That she has a chance to rebuild her life with Pedro. I know she can do it, but she needs initial support. A safe place to stay, food, clothes. You can help her with that, right? Ms. Vera crossed her arms and looked at Anna for a moment. Do you really think she can do it? Anna leaned forward and spoke firmly. I believe so. Maria just needs someone who also believes in her. She is tired, wounded by life, but she has not given up on Pedro. She deserves this chance. The social worker remained thoughtful for a few seconds. Finally, she sighed deeply. It's not easy, Anna. Resources are limited. I'll see what I can do. Maybe we can refer her to a temporary shelter and include her case in a support program, but only for a while. But Anna, this also depends on her. She has to accept the help and make an effort to improve quickly, or we won't have any other option. She'll accept it, Anna assured her with conviction. She just needs to see that someone is on her side. Ms. Vera smiled slightly and put her glasses back on. You have a very big heart, Anna, but be careful not to get hurt. Hurt. If it's to save 2 lives, it's worth it, Anna replied with a smile. She got up, thanked Ms. Vera before leaving the room. She returned to the room where Maria was sitting, as always, next to the crib. Anna entered slowly and approached Maria, who was sitting in the same place, her eyes fixed on her son. Anna sat down next to her. Maria, I spoke to the social worker, Anna said calmly, taking her hand. Maria looked at her fearfully, as if expecting the worst. What are they going to do? Maria asked in a whisper. They're going to help you, Maria, Anna replied with a smile. We've found a safe place for you and Pedro, a shelter where you'll have food, clothes, and a roof over your heads. It will be the beginning of a new life. Maria looked at Anna in surprise, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. They're not going to take Pedro away from me, she said. No, Anna replied firmly, but you need to accept help and believe in yourself. Pedro needs you, Maria, and I believe you can do it. Tears began to roll down Maria's face, but this time they were different. They were not only tears of sadness, but also of relief and gratitude. Thank you, Anna, Maria whispered softly. Anna squeezed her hand tighter and smiled. Everything will be all right. One step at a time, okay? You're not alone anymore. Maria looked at little Pedro, who was sleeping peacefully in his crib, and for the first time in a long, she let out a small smile. It was shy, full of fear, but it was there. I'll try for him, said Maria, looking at her son with eyes full of love. And I'll be here for you, Anna replied affectionately. With the support of the hospital, Anna found a temporary shelter for Maria and little Pedro. It was a simple but clean and safe place with a small room and a comfortable bed where Maria could rest with her son for the first time in a long time. Maria had a roof over her head, hot food to eat, and a welcoming environment to start getting back on her feet. Anna accompanied Maria to the shelter, helping her into the room. The space was modest, but to Maria, it seemed like a palace. She looked around with eyes full of tears and sat down slowly on the bed, as if she still couldn't believe it was real. Is this really for us? Maria asked, looking at Anna with a trembling voice. Yes, Anna replied with a warm smile. This is the first step. Here you can have some peace. Maria laid Pedro down on the bed next to her, and stroked his now peaceful little face as he slept. Her gaze was one of relief, but also fear. "I don't know how to thank you," Maria whispered with tears rolling down her face. "You don't need to thank me," said Ana, sitting down next to her. "You deserve this. Pedro deserves this. Now just focus on getting well." The days ahead, Ana continued to help Maria. As best she could, she brought her clothes for the baby, food, and even some simple toys. The friendship between them grew even stronger. Ana saw Maria's daily efforts to care for her son. She got up in the early hours of the morning when Pedro cried, held him with all the love in the world, and fed him with the little she had. But despite all her efforts, the problem was still not solved. A social worker arrived at the shelter a few days later to assess Maria and Pedro's situation, and Ana made sure to be present during the visit. "Ms. Vera, as you can see, they are fine here," Ana said as they walked together down the hallway of the shelter. "Maria is doing everything she can, and Pedro is much better." Ms. Vera stopped and looked at Ana with a serious expression. "I understand, Ana, but a temporary shelter is not enough. This does not mean that Maria has the conditions to care for the baby alone in the long term. Long term, we need guarantees." Those words were like a bucket of cold water for Ana. She felt a lump in her throat and took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Guarantees, Ms. Vera. What more does Maria need to do? She is dedicated day and night to her son. She loves Pedro more than anything. Taking him away from her would not be fair." Ms. Vera crossed her arms and looked at the small room where Maria was sitting on the edge of the bed, holding Pedro in her arms. Maria couldn't hear the conversation, but she looked at her son with so much love that the silence said it all. "Love is important, Ana, but it's not everything. Pedro needs a secure future without a job, a stable home, or at least a minimal structure. He's at risk," explained Ms. Vera firmly. Ana moved closer and, without hiding her emotion, replied that a greater risk would be to separate him from his mother. Maria shouldn't be punished just because life has been cruel to her. She needs support, guidance, help to find a way forward. Pedro needs her, and she needs him. The social worker was silent for a moment. Looking at Maria through the half-open door, she saw Maria cradling her son and murmuring something softly, perhaps a song or words of affection. It was impossible not to notice the love there, the effort Maria was making, even though she had nothing. "I know you want the best for them, Ana. I want that too," said Ms. Vera, softening her tone. "But we need something more concrete. Temporarily housing them does not solve the problem." Ana took a deep breath and spoke with determination. "Then let's find something concrete. I can help Maria get a job, even if it's simple. Something she can start with. We can find programs that provide support. She just needs a chance to prove she can make it." Ms. Vera looked at Ana thoughtfully. "I'll see what I can do. But Ana, this must be resolved soon. If we don't find a stable solution in a short time, we will have any choice but to send Pedro to be adopted, or to a children's shelter." Ms. Vera's words struck Ana hard in the heart, but she didn't let fear paralyze her. She knew the situation was difficult, but she also knew that giving up was not an option. She looked once more at the room and saw Maria now smiling slightly at Pedro, who was awake, moving his eyes and looking at his mother with those curious and innocent eyes. "Don't worry, Ms. Vera. We'll find a solution. I won't let them be separated." Ms. Vera nodded slightly, as if she understood the weight of that promise. "I hope you're right, Ana. They're lucky to have you by their side. Don't worry, Ms. Vera. We'll find a solution. I won't let them be separated." Ms. Vera nodded slightly, as if she understood the weight of that promise. "I hope you're right, Ana. They're lucky to have you by their side, and I'm lucky to have found them," Ana replied with a small but emotional smile. The idea of seeing them separated was unbearable. Every time she saw that baby smiling innocently, or Maria holding him so lovingly, she knew she couldn't let that happen. The love between the two was pure and true, and Ana would do whatever it took to protect that bond. After talking to lawyers and thinking long and hard, Ana made a difficult but necessary decision. She would not allow Pedro to be taken to a shelter, or Maria to be left alone again. One afternoon, Ana went to the shelter where Maria and Pedro were staying. Upon entering the small room, She found Maria sitting on the bed with her son in her arms, distractedly watching him, as she always did. "Hello, Maria," Anna said with a sweet smile, trying to hide the emotion she felt. Maria looked up and smiled shyly. "Hello, Anna." Anna approached slowly and sat down next to her on the bed. For a few seconds she remained silent, just watching Pedro, who was now moving his little hands, delighted with the loose threads of his mother's blouse. "I need to talk to you about something important," Anna said calmly. Maria immediately frowned, worried. "Did something happen to Pedro?" "No," Anna replied quickly, taking her hand to calm her down. "Pedro is fine. He's getting better every day. It's about your future." Maria tensed up and looked down, as if she were already expecting bad news. "You're going to take him away from me, aren't you?" Maria asked, her voice breaking. She knew this would happen. Anna squeezed her hand tighter and shook her head. "No, Maria. I won't let that happen, but I need you to trust me." Maria looked up suspiciously, like someone who had been deceived many times in her life. "What do you mean by that?" Anna took a deep breath and finally spoke with complete sincerity. "I spoke with the social workers and a lawyer. The situation is complicated, and they believe you're not ready to take care of Pedro on your own yet. But I had an idea, and I want you to listen to me carefully. It's just a way to help make sure you don't lose Pedro." "What?" asked Maria, her eyes wide. "I can request custody of Pedro," said Anna softly. "That means I would be legally responsible for him, but you wouldn't lose your son. On the contrary, he will be with me in a safe place, and you can stay with him, take care of him, see him. I don't want to separate you. I just want to make sure that no one else can." Maria was paralyzed, not knowing how to respond. She hugged Pedro tightly, protecting instinctively. "You want to take my son away from me?" Maria asked suspiciously, tears beginning to fall. Anna hastened to explain in the sweetest voice possible. "No, Maria, I would never do that. I don't want to take Pedro away from you. I want to protect you both. If I am legally responsible for him, social workers won't be able to take him to a shelter, and you'll have time to get back on your feet, find a job, a place to live. In the meantime, he'll be with me. We'll take care of him, together." Maria remained in silence, processing those words. It was too much for her. She didn't know if she could trust Anna, but when she looked into Anna's eyes, she saw something she hadn't seen in a long time: sincerity. "Why?" Maria asked, her voice filled with pain. "Why would you do this for me?" Anna smiled and wiped a tear from Maria's face. "Because you deserve a chance, and because I already love Pedro as if he were my own." Maria looked at Anna, moved but still with an air of distrust. "Do you swear that you won't take him away from me, that he will never call me anything other than Mom?" Anna took her face lovingly and replied firmly, "I swear, Maria, I'm here to help you both. Pedro will always be your son, and you will always be his mother. I'm just trying to hold your hand in this difficult time." Tears fell heavily down Maria's face, and she finally believed what she had been hearing for so long. The world had only shown her abandonment and contempt. But there was Anna, someone who didn't give up, who believed in her, and in the love she felt for Pedro. "I don't know what to say," Maria murmured, sobbing. "Just say you trust me," Anna replied with an encouraging laugh. Maria looked at her son, who was now sleeping peacefully in her arms, and then turned her gaze back to Anna. "I trust you," Maria whispered, still crying, but with a weight lifted from her chest. "Everything will be all right," Anna promised, taking her hand firmly. "We'll take care of Pedro together, and when you're ready, he can be with you forever." In the days that followed, Maria, although initially distrustful, began to accept Anna's help. She saw that Anna was there for her and for Pedro, without asking for anything in return. Little by little, she began to believe that perhaps life was giving her a new chance. Maria looked at Pedro, who was sleeping peacefully in the makeshift crib in the shelter. His little face was more ruddy, he was breathing well, and she could even hear the soft sound of his breathing, like a little melody that calmed her heart. Sitting next to him on the floor was Anna, always there as a support that until then had seemed impossible in her life. The silence in the room was broken by Maria's low, emotion-laden voice. She looked at Anna with eyes full of tears and finally let the words come out. "I don't know how to thank you," Maria said, her voice breaking. She wiped her face with her hands, but the tears kept falling. "You saved his life and mine, too." It was rare for Maria to show herself so vulnerable. She always seemed to hide behind the fear of shame, but at that moment she couldn't help it. The pain she carried inside gave way to a feeling she didn't know how to explain: gratitude. Anna smiled softly, looking at her with affection. She took Maria's hand and gently, trying to convey all the security in the world with that simple gesture. "Just do what you can for him," Maria replied. Anna, with a calm voice full of tenderness, "You are not alone." Maria looked at Anna, still crying, but the sparkle in her eyes had changed. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen, she felt heard. Anna did not speak with pity. She spoke with confidence, like someone who truly believed in her. "I was so afraid of losing him," Maria continued between sobs. "When he was sick, I thought it was all over. I've lost so many things, but I couldn't bear to lose Pedro." "And you didn't lose him," Anna replied, squeezing her hand even tighter. "He's here, Maria, alive and healthy, in your arms. And you know why? Because you never gave up on him." Maria nodded emotionally and looked at her son again. "I just want him to have a better life than mine," she whispered with a trembling voice. "That's all. And he will," Anna said with conviction, "because he has you. And now he has me too. Together, we'll make it happen." Maria looked at Anna again, and for the first time gave a small smile. It wasn't a big smile, nor was it full of certainty, but it was a start. It was the smile of someone who was beginning to believe that maybe the future could be different. "I never had anyone who believed in me," Maria confessed in a low voice. "They always looked at me like if I were a mistake." "That's not true," Anna said firmly. "You're not a mistake. You're a mother who did everything she could to protect her child. That's more than many would do." Maria didn't answer, but a silent tear rolled down her cheek. She looked at Pedro, who was now moving slowly in his crib, and wiped her face with the sleeve of her blouse. "I do the best I can," she said. After a moment, "For him, that is all that matters," Anna replied with a smile. "The love you have for him is enough to take the first step. We'll figure out the rest together." The room was silent for a few moments. Maria continued to look at Pedro, and Anna remained by her side, as always. No more words were needed. Sometimes all someone needs is a helping hand, and someone who sees what others don't. Anna knew the road would be long, but at that moment, she felt that something important had happened. Maria was no longer alone. Pedro was no longer in danger, and the love between mother and son that had been so tested by life was now stronger than ever. "You're not alone," Anna repeated softly once more. Over time, the relationship between Anna and Maria grew naturally, like a flower blooming even after the storm. They formed such a strong bond that it seemed as if they had known each other for years. They were no longer just two women brought together by chance. Now they were like a family, united by their love for little Pedro, who was growing stronger and healthier every day. Maria still had difficult days when she doubted herself or when the weight of the past tried to return. But Anna was always there, steadfastly supporting her, taking her hand, or bringing a smile when she needed it most. "One step at a time," Maria would say to Anna, always in that calm, loving voice. "Look how far you've come. Just keep going like this." The months were filled with small victories. Maria began working at a nearby laundromat, saving her first earnings, while Pedro, cared for with all the love of Anna and Maria, grew up quickly and happily. One sunny afternoon, Anna invited Maria and Pedro to spend the day at her little house. The garden, full of flowers and green grass, was the perfect setting for a simple and joyful day. Anna had spread a colorful blanket on the ground, and Pedro played with some scattered toys, laughing with that joy that only children have. "He's so happy," whispered Maria, sitting on the blanket next to Anna, watching her son. "And you should be too," replied Anna, smiling at her. "Look how well he's doing, Maria." "That's thanks to you." Maria smiled, but didn't respond. She still found it difficult to accept compliments. She stared at Pedro, who was banging the toys together, making funny noises that made them laugh. Suddenly, Pedro got up, leaning on his knees and hands. He stood there for a few seconds, swaying a little, trying to keep his balance. Anna immediately noticed what was about to happen and touched Maria's arm. "Maria, look," Anna said, her eyes filled with emotion. Maria looked quickly and saw Pedro standing still, as if gathering his courage. He looked ahead, smiled, and then slowly took his first step. His little foot sank into the soft grass, but he didn't fall. Then came another step and another until, without realizing it, Pedro was walking toward them with his little arms outstretched, seeking balance, and a smile on his face that lit up everything around him. Pedro exclaimed, "Maria!" bringing his hands to his face, his eyes filled with tears. Anna began to laugh, applauding the little boy who was taking faltering but determined steps. With determination. "Look at him, Maria. He's walking." Maria stood frozen for a second, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Tears began to roll down her face as she opened her arms, and Pedro finally reached her, falling into her lap with an adorable laugh. Maria hugged him tightly, resting her face in her son's hair, feeling her heart beat fast with so much emotion. "My son," Maria whispered, her voice choked with crying. "You did it." Anna sat next to them, watching with shining eyes. It was one of those moments that make everything worthwhile, a simple miracle that brought immense happiness. Maria looked at Anna, still crying, but with a smile so sincere that her face seemed illuminated by the afternoon sun. "I never thought I would see this," said Maria, her voice trembling as she held Pedro's face and wiped away her tears. "I was so afraid I wouldn't make it here." Anna moved closer, touched Maria's shoulder affectionately, and replied softly, "Love works miracles, Maria, and you prove it every day." Maria looked at Anna with gratitude, a gratitude so deep that it didn't need to be expressed in words. She hugged Pedro tightly, as if she wanted to hold him forever, and smiled again, still crying, but now with joy. "Thank you, Anna, for never giving up on us." "Anna," she smiled and shook her head, her eyes filled with tears. "I just reminded you how strong you are. And look, you two made it here together." Pedro, as if understanding how important that moment was, looked at his mother and Anna and smiled, clapping his little hands. His laughter echoed through the small garden, bringing a peace that seemed to cover everything around him. Pedro was growing up fast, full of life and innocence, like a ray of sunshine that illuminated everything around him. His little steps were still uncertain, but each attempt was accompanied by laughter and applause. His eyes sparkled with curiosity as he discovered the world little by little, unaware that he himself was the reason for a new beginning. Maria, growing stronger every day, never left her son's side. She looked at him with an expression that mixed love, gratitude, and pride. Each of Pedro's smiles, each innocent laugh, showed her that despite all the challenges, they had made it moved forward. "He is my miracle," Maria murmured. One afternoon, while watching Pedro play with some toys that Anna had brought, he gave me strength when I had none left. Anna, sitting next to her in the small garden, smiled as she watched Pedro run from one side to the other, sometimes stumbling, but always getting up. "And you were his strength, Maria. You never gave up, even when it seemed impossible." Maria looked at Anna with eyes full of emotion, and then turned to look at her son, who was now trying to catch a butterfly flying nearby. "Sometimes I think about everything we went through, everything I thought I couldn't bear," said Maria in a low voice, almost a whisper. "But when I see Pedro so happy, discovering the world, I understand that it was worth it." At that moment, Pedro turned toward them with the butterfly still flying near him, smiled a wide smile that filled their hearts, and ran toward Maria, falling into her arms with a contagious laugh. Maria held him tight and hugged him as if she never wanted to let him go. "You are my gift, you know," said Maria, resting her face on her son's hair. Pedro didn't understand the words, but he smiled again and touched her face with his little hands. Anna watched the scene in silence, her heart overflowing with emotion. Pedro was not just a baby full of life. He was a symbol of hope, proof that love can overcome even the most difficult situations. "Pedro has no idea how much he changed our lives," Anna said softly, looking at Maria. He is the opportunity that the world gave you both. Maria smiled, still hugging her son. He is my new opportunity, she replied, her eyes filled with tears. When he smiles, I know that everything is worth it. Pedro broke free from the embrace and, with his clumsy little steps, ran back through the garden, laughing loudly, happy with the freedom that only a child knows. Maria and Ana continued to watch him, sharing that simple but meaningful moment in that small space. Pedro was more than a baby playing. He was the force that brought Maria back to life, the joy that filled Ana's days, and the reason that united these two women who were so different, but so similar in love and determination. Innocent and full of life, Pedro became the symbol of a new beginning for both him and his mother. She did not know the struggles they had faced to get there, but somehow, he was the silent victory their hearts so desperately needed. As he ran across the lawn, the sun illuminated everything around him, as if the world was also celebrating this little miracle. Ana could not get the story of Maria and Pedro out of her head. There was one detail that continued to bother her. She knew that finding it could be difficult, but she also knew that she had a responsibility to the child. So, without saying anything to Maria at first, she began to investigate quietly, using the little information Maria had shared one night while Pedro slept in his crib and Maria rested beside him. Ana sat down at the computer and searched for answers. She didn't want to open old wounds, but she knew that justice had to be done. After days of searching and a few discreet conversations, Ana finally found a clue. Maria called Ana one afternoon as they sat in the small garden. Maria looked at her curiously, sensing the serious tone in her voice. "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Ana took a deep breath, took her hand, and spoke carefully. "I found out where Pedro's father is." Maria's face turned pale instantly. She looked down, nervously, as if that name still hurt her. "I don't want to talk about him," Maria whispered in a low voice. "I know it hurts, Maria, but he needs to take responsibility. Pedro has rights, and you deserve justice after everything what you went through." Maria remained silent, her hands trembling in her lap. She looked at Pedro, who was playing with a toy on the floor, unaware of the weight of the conversation. "I don't want him to take Pedro away from me," Maria whispered, tears beginning to fall. Ana squeezed her hands affectionately and spoke firmly. "That's not going to happen. I'm with you. We'll try this together, but he has to understand that he can't just run away." Maria took a deep breath, and after a few minutes nodded slightly. "What do I have to do in the coming days?" Ana accompanied Maria through every stage of the process. With the help of lawyers and the courts, they located Pedro's father, a man who had never cared about the child. When they found him, he did not try to deny anything. His face became serious when he saw Maria for the first time after so long, but Ana was there to make sure Maria did not feel alone. "Pedro has the right to know where he comes from and the right to a decent future," Ana told the man, looking him straight in the eye. The case was brought before the courts, and a DNA test was requested to confirm paternity. Although there was little doubt throughout the process, Maria remained silent, but always held Ana's hand, as if it were her only strength to keep her standing. "I'm scared," Ana confessed Maria, one night while Pedro was sleeping. "I know, Maria, but you've been through much worse. Now is the time to fight for what is right, and you are not alone." When the day of the test results arrived, Ana continued with her routine at the hospital, but her heart was beating differently. She knew that the results would change the future of Pedro and Maria. While she was treating patients, her mind kept returning to the image of that smiling baby and the mother who had fought so hard for him. At the end of her shift, Ana took off her scrubs, grabbed her bag, and hurried to the courthouse where Maria was waiting anxiously and nervously, sitting on a bench. "Is it out yet?" Ana asked as she approached. Maria looked at her with eyes shining with a mixture of fear and hope. "Not yet," she replied, almost in a whisper. Ana sat down next to her and took her hand, as she always did. "Whatever the result, we're in this together. Pedro will never be abandoned. I promise you that, Maria." Maria took a deep breath, trying to calm, and nodded. "Thank you, Ana, for everything." At that moment, both their hearts were beating fast as they waited for the next step. They knew that whatever the outcome, their lives would never be the same, but together, they could face anything. The days of waiting for the test results seemed like an eternity. When the report finally confirmed paternity, Ana and Maria found themselves side by side in the courtroom again. Pedro's father, Juan, was sitting on the other side of the room with his eyes downcast, while his own parents, serious-looking men with gray hair, stood beside him. The silence in the room was almost suffocating. The judge called attention to the case and, in a firm voice, began to read the sentence. Based on the evidence presented and the confirmation of the DNA test, the child's biological father, Juan, must pay monthly child support to ensure the well-being of Pedro Juan. Until that moment, Juan had seemed indifferent, but now he took a deep breath, as if he were realizing for the first time he understood the gravity of what he had done. But what surprised everyone was what happened next. One of Juan's parents stood up and asked permission to speak. "Your Honor, my wife and I would like to do something for Pedro and also for Maria." Maria looked up for the first time, surprised and confused. She looked at Ana as if seeking an explanation. Ana just took her hand, calming her. "Continue," said the judge, allowing the man to speak. "We understand that our son failed as a father. We didn't know about the child's existence, but we don't want Pedro to pay for that. We want to take responsibility as grandparents. We would like to legally adopt Pedro, give him a home, a complete family, and offer him everything he needs." Maria was paralyzed. The words echoed in the room, and she felt her heart racing. "What about the mother?" asked the judge, looking at the couple, the man's wife, who until then had been silent. She stood up and continued in a sweet and sincere voice. "We promise to take care of her too. Maria will be part of the family. We know she loves Pedro and that he loves her. We also want to offer both of you a dignified life. She will always have a place with us if she accepts it." Maria brought her hands to her face, and tears fell silently. She looked at Ana, confused and excited at the same time. "Is this real?" Maria whispered, almost without a voice. Ana smiled with her eyes full of emotion and replied softly, "Yes, Maria, this is happening." The judge looked at everyone and paused before continuing. "Maria accepts this condition. Pedro will be under the care of his grandparents with formal custody, but you will continue to be present in his life, and custody will be removed from Ana." Maria could not speak. Tears ran down her face as she looked at Pedro sleeping peacefully in Ana's arms. Finally, her voice came out low but full of emotion. "I just want him to be happy. If they can give him a better life, I accept." The judge confirmed the decision, and everything was formalized at the end of the hearing. Ana handed Pedro into Maria's arms, who hugged him tightly, as if she wanted to keep that moment forever. As they left, Juan's parents approached Maria carefully. The emotional woman touched her shoulder and spoke in a broken voice. "Thank you for bringing Pedro into the world. We promise to take care of him and you. You will never be alone again." Maria just cried, not knowing what to say. She looked at Ana, who stood there firm as always. Later, outside the courthouse, Ana hugged Maria while Pedro slept in her arms. "You did the right thing, Maria. He will have everything he deserves, and you will always be with him." Maria took a deep breath and for the first time seemed calmer. "I only did it thanks to you, Ana. If you hadn't believed in me," Ana smiled and replied softly, "No, Maria, you never gave up. I just reminded you how strong you are." Weeks later, Pedro was already in his new home, surrounded by his grandparents, receiving love, care, and everything he needed. The house was large and full of light, and there was a small room just for him, decorated with stuffed animals and toys. Maria went every day to visit her son. She sat on the floor with him, played with him, and hugged him, feeling that despite the changes, he was still her little boy, still his child. Little by little, she began to feel part of this family that treated her with love and respect. Ana also visited Pedro frequently, always arriving with a smile and a bag full of gifts, bringing more joy to the house. "Are you happy, Pedro?" Ana would ask as he laughed. In her arms, Maria watched the scene, smiling with emotion. Now she knew that it had all been for him and that he was finally safe. "Thank you, Anna," Maria would say quietly every time they said goodbye. Anna always responded in the same way, with a heart full of peace. "Love works miracles, Maria, and you two are proof of that." Pedro, with his innocent and lively smile, had united destinies and created a new family. He was not only Maria's hope, but also a symbol that even in the worst moments, life can always start again. Sometimes a simple gesture can change everything. For Maria, it was Anna's understanding gaze when everyone else had only looked at her with contempt. Looked at her with contempt. It was the hand extended at the moment she needed it most, when the world seemed to have abandoned her. For Pedro, it was the warmth of Anna's arms holding him tightly in the hospital, racing against time, saving her from something much worse. It was a gesture of love that he, so small and innocent, could not understand, but it kept him alive in that small room where Maria and Pedro began to rebuild their lives. Smiles and small victories began to emerge like rays of sunshine after a long storm. Every word of support from Anna, every hug and every visit were like bridges that connected the sad past with a future full of hope. "You never gave up on us," Maria said one day as she watched Pedro playing on the carpet, laughing as only children know how to laugh. Anna smiled and replied with a voice full of affection, "Because everyone deserves someone who believes in them. Sometimes all we need is someone to listen and help at the right moment." Maria looked at her son with shining eyes and wiped away a silent tear. "Pedro, he is everything to me. If it weren't for you, I don't even know what would have happened to us." Anna took a deep breath, moved but with a soft smile on her face. "You saved yourselves together. Maria, all I did was remind you that love always finds its way in that house where Pedro grew up happily, where Maria had regained hope. Anna was still there. She didn't perform miracles or change the world, but she did something that is often forgotten. She listened, she helped, and she stayed. Little Pedro, innocent and full of life, was now living proof that love and care are more powerful than any pain. His smile was like a beacon, illuminating everyone around him. Sometimes a simple gesture, like listening and helping, is what saves more than one. Anna knew it. Mary felt it, and Peter, with all his purity, showed it every day without saying a single word. What would you do in this situation? Write your comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. See you in the next video.